Next on the track is the men's 5,000 metres. So another one where, of course, we only need one race. Tidrek Norme, one of very few people in history to make an Olympic 1,500 metres and participate in the marathon as well. And one of those with great range. You can see some athletes haven't done a 5,000 metres this year. Not uncommon by any stretch. And they're actually some of the biggest talents in this field. Joel Lidlishel and Elzan Bibic as well, the tall Serbian we've got here. So, yeah, interesting range of athletes as well that we often see in the 5,000s. Those coming up from the 1,500. And also sometimes stepping down or just have done a range of distances across the year, as I'm sure that we'll see. So Isaac Kameli, one of the big names out to watch out for here in this. Anyway, so he's one of the athletes who hasn't run the 5,000 metres yet this year, but does have the fastest personal best in the field of 12:56.53. Brian Fay, the Irishman, then therefore comes in with the top ranked time this year. And you can see he's a little off his absolute best. But Isaac Kameli, a previous winner at these championships. Interesting to see how he does. Of course, he's accumulated more experience since he did that. He's now 31 years of age. And of course, someone who was part of the European Running Championships recently on home soil in Leuven. He's third in the 10,000 metres. So he comes in the favourite, but very interesting to see who might challenge, including Brian Fay. Well, it was a terrific display by Dari Ivanovsky of North Macedonia in the third division, and we saw two athletes break away and others really couldn't live with the early pace. So you just wonder whether that will be the case here. The Latvian at the front early, that's Arturs Medveds, so he improved this year to 13:43.16 and is very, very close to the national record that's been held since 2013 by Dimitris Jurkovic. So in 1971, a Latvian-born athlete, Juris Grustins, did run 30:34, representing the Soviet Union at the time. So, yeah, expecting big things from Kameli here. It just depends what kind of shape he's in, Ellen.
Yeah, absolutely. Always so interesting to see that initial burst when they get away, and then it almost grinds to a halt, and just that figuring out of who's going to take on what. Great, of course, to see the water station there for quieting the athletes. I know that that's something that they've been talking about, the organisers, this week, and speaking to the athletes' representations and, of course, the delegations here for those who have travelled over and are not quite as used to the warm weather. It is, of course, blisteringly hot conditions, and well, we say that, of course, Alex as Brits who are not used to these kinds of temperatures, but we've had well over 30 degrees this week here in Maribor. We're looking at around the same kind of temperatures to expect, over 30 degrees tomorrow as well. So certainly a warm day, and well, they'll be very grateful that this race held into the evening as we start to draw to the end of the programme on the first day of action.
Yeah, and you can see sometimes how a slower initial race can kind of neutralise the differences in personal best between the field. Kameli's personal best came last year, I mentioned it already, 12:56. That was in Stockholm last year. But you can see here Peter Durec, the Slovakian, out front early on, so he's one of the improvers in 2025, 13:50.65. Slovakia going well overall at this stage. They have had those victories. We saw fantastic, big personal best and national record. Sub 51 seconds in the 400 for Emma Zaplatanova, one of the contenders for promotion. And he's gone out early on like he's part of a team that are trying to push themselves for promotion. And whether he's actually doing that or not, but it's the sort of thing I like to see, that brave move early on. You can see Brian Fay there on the outside in the green of Ireland. There is Tidrek Norme, the versatile Estonian, very experienced, you could see there. with the cap on. And you can see also this live information that we've often seen at European Championships over the last couple of years. The graphics giving an indication of some of the gaps. I can tell you that I've just disappeared off the screen as I was about to read it, but the split for the opening kilometre, just outside 3 minutes there. But Jurec coming out bravely at the front. As I was saying, Ellen, a little bit like he's an athlete that's part of the team that wants to push for every point.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and obviously my thoughts initially go back to what Naomi van den Blok said after her race, and as being the captain of Belgium, saying that she's told her athletes not to worry, not to think about being part of the team, focus on your own performances. But you have to say, so often the two go hand in hand, and that when we see teams at the top of the table, there's a little bit of expectation, a little bit more pressure. They know what's at stake and they want to push on, and that's certainly what it looks like we're seeing from Peter Jurec here.
So still Peter Jurec at the front, an athlete who has come in the top three here in the past, but it was what's known as the second league then. It was actually the third division overall, I make it. That was in 2017 over this distance. But looking quite relaxed out front at this point. Coming through 2K split in 5:46. Camelli in a good position just behind. Brian Fay also near this leading group. You can see he's just a little bit more tucked in than he was before, but still got himself in a good position. An athlete who was 8th at the European Championships over this distance in Munich, as we see the sweat across the brow of Tedrek Nurme, the Estonian there. And yeah, interesting to consider overall. Obviously, we were talking about the breadth of victories, Belgium getting their 4th there, but the victories are also spread quite thinly among just a few nations. And you've got 4 for Belgium, 1 for Slovenia, and then Norway and Slovakia each having 3. And well, other than Elka Savic of Croatia, who was kind of expected, Bredlinger, who lived up to form for Austria, that's pretty much it, the last listings that I've looked. So just maybe it will be a thicker spread compared to the third division, and actually you'll start to see maybe at the end of today a bit clearer in terms of the standings for that promotion race.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case at all, Alex. The standings that we're getting in live now after 13 events, with Norway, Slovenia, Belgium so closely bunched together.
So Arturs Medveds, yeah, he's making a move, isn't he? Jurec has led for a long time. Obviously, he's very willing and able to be at the front for 2K, but now Medved's keen to push on.
Just seeing who will go with him. It certainly has been a turn of pace. Peter Jurec, of course, still there, looking incredibly focused, isn't he? Barely blinking. He's on the shoulder of the Latvian. And Camelli just tucked in behind. Such an intelligent racer, Zach Camelli. Bide his time. Never likes to be too far away from the front. As Medved's just dropping back down into third now, after a very brief turn on the front.
Yeah, Medved's, having done his turn, if you like, just drops back, but he's an athlete with plenty of pedigree from a Latvian point of view. He has 3,000, 10,000 PBs along with this distance as well. 5K road also in April, 13:40 in California, and then it was in January indoors, improving that time over 3,000 meters to 7:49. So yes, always a good indication, but now just dropping back a little bit. And yeah, interesting to see this rotation. Maybe about to see a bit of a breakaway. You can see Jurec is trying to manage that gap just in front of him. You're watching live coverage of the European Athletics Team Championships in this 5,000 meter race, 9 minutes in, and just coming through there outside 9 minutes through 3K. So Kibrab, the Norwegian, starting to emerge in this lead group. Hadn't really mentioned him to this point so far, but you've got Kibrab of Norway, Kimeli of Belgium, Brian Fay still at the sharp end of this race, Joel Ibler Lilleshow, you can see there, involved as well in the red of Denmark, one of their young emerging talents over the middle distance and long distance, as we've seen in the last couple of years. They've brought athletes as young as 15 to some of these events, like the European under-20s. I think of the likes of Axel von Christensen and Sophia Tergersen, who've done really well over the distances. And going a bit further back, you had Anna Emily Moller, great steeplechaser and 5,000 metre runner, and winning lots of Danish titles. So back to the 5,000 metres, Kimeli starting to gradually assert some authority on this race. Really tough stage though in proceedings, where it starts to hurt. Elzhan Bibic starting to emerge. Of course, commonly see him over 1,500 metres and enjoys front running, so a little bit further back on this occasion. Brian Fay though going strongly. We have got a bit of a breakaway now of 6 athletes, and try as he might, getting tougher and tougher for Jurec, the former leader. But Kimeli coming through, 11:24 there on the clock through 4,000 metres. So just starting maybe to hurt a little bit, but he's got great pedigree right across distances. Mentioned that inaugural European Road Running Championships, and great to have him support the Belgian team on home soil, of course. But going into territory new, of course, we have seen also World Road Running Championships over the last few years, giving more and more international competition opportunities like this, which is great to see. But for some nations, of course, it means that they're spread thinly and not everyone can be available at all points during the season. Brian Fay now starting to emerge for the first time on the outside there. 12.5 minutes into this race, and getting ourselves closer and closer to the conclusion. Now just less than 600 to go. And Fay, this is really impressive move. Kimeli though still very much has the Irishman within his sights. It's the young Dane just behind Ibler Lilleshow, and Kibrab, who was at the front, shifted further back. So a lot of jostling position, but big move made here by the 1,500 man. Elzhan Bibic, not going to quite put him into the lead, but just showing everyone that he's there. And I wonder whether he will have timed that right. Certainly, he's ahead of Kimeli now. He wouldn't want to let others pass, and he's going to change that. And by changing that, he's also going to end up using some energy. So on this final lap here, Brian Fay now sprinting here with Isaac Kimeli. Being pushed all the way, and Bibic did make that move surely too early. He's locked in a battle with Kibrab and Lilleshow. Won't do enough to close that gap. It's a head-to-head out front. Brian Fay in the green of Ireland. Kimeli gritting his teeth in the white of Belgium. What a head-to-head this is. Coming across the line here, Isaac Kimeli does hold on. A fantastic victory for the Belgian. He really had to work hard for that, just like for Hayden in the 1500. 13:55 on the clock. And Isaac Kimeli, well, he was leading at one point. He saw others make moves, and I guess, Ellen, you have to credit him for holding his head while all of that was going on around him.
Yeah, absolutely, Alex. This is why we say such an intelligent racer. He has so much experience at European level, world level, and that is such a good sign of it. He had Brian Fay on his shoulder, he had him in front of him, and he just kept his cool. He let everyone move around. He knows his game plan, and he ran his race so well. It's what we're used to with Isaac Kimeli. It's what we've seen on the track, on the road, cross country, and that is why, you know, he's one of the best in Europe. And Belgium, well, what an asset he is to them, to have a man of that stature in your ranks that you can just pull out when you're in this battle for promotion. 16 points, thank you very much. But what a battle. Edge of your seat stuff as they come down the home straight, seeing Brian Fay fighting with every last breath that he has to really try and get around the Belgian athlete. A really determined performance from Ireland, who we know are going to have to fight all the way through this competition. They're going to be in scraps for points, and it's great to see someone who's really fighting to see Ireland and put them at the top.
Yes, and it follows up a decent performance from Shane Bracken a little earlier on, and we know Ireland have had big sprint improvements recently, but they always absolutely love the middle distance as well, and fantastic from Brian Fay. I think he did his best. He would have known that Kameli was strong going in, but it follows up Kameli's win in 2019 when he upset Henrik Ingebrigtsen in the Norwegians' hometown in 2019. But overall, though, Norway having the last laugh just for now. They lead the standings by 5 points from Slovenia and Belgium, and going down to comeback, it looked like, between the two of them. Very, very close there. But the Norwegians continuing to look strong.
Hello, I'm Leonardo Fabri, and you must subscribe to the European Athletics channel, because otherwise I'm gonna fight you.